At our morning huddle, my supervisor laughed and said, maybe if she smiled more and complained less, she'd actually be good at her job. I bit my tongue as everyone avoided my eyes. Quietly, I built a 30-page report on every process improvement I had designed, and presented it straight to corporate, skipping him entirely. 2 weeks later, his position was eliminated. I never wanted to be that person who causes a scene or goes behind someone's back. I just wanted to do my job, do it well, and not be dragged into the office drama. But after what happened that day, I realized staying quiet wasn't protecting me anymore, it was just making it easier for people like Dan to treat me like crap in front of everyone. I work at a logistics company in Milwaukee. We handle freight shipments, tracking, route planning, all the boring stuff that keeps goods moving across the country. I've been with the company for 6 years now. I started out in admin, moved into operations, and now I'm one of the process coordinators. Basically, I keep everything running smoothly behind the scenes. I'm not flashy. I'm not loud. I don't gossip or hang out at happy hour. I keep to myself, and I work hard. I don't care about getting praise, I just like fixing things. I like when something works better because of me, even if no one knows it. My supervisor, Dan, is the exact opposite of me. He talks big, walks fast, and acts like he's the hero of every meeting. He's one of those guys who never really listens, but always has something to say. He got promoted from another branch after charming someone in upper management, that much is clear. He doesn't know the actual day-to-day operations. He just throws buzzwords around, makes jokes, and takes credit for stuff other people do. For the past year, I'd been keeping a log of issues I noticed with how we process driver updates, warehouse timing, and documentation errors. Things like redundant tasks, communication gaps, delays caused by our outdated internal systems. On my own time, lunch breaks, weekends, I started building new workflows. I rewrote some of the job aids, tracked time savings, tested a few changes with coworkers who trusted me. I didn't show any of it to Dan. Not because I was hiding it, but because I knew what would happen. He'd either ignore it or try to pass it off as his own. And after how he talked to me that day in front of the whole team, I was done giving him anything. Here's what happened. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I had barely slept the night before, my mom was going through something health-related, and I was up late talking to her. I still showed up on time, like always. Coffee in hand, tired but ready to get through the day. At 8:45, we all gathered for the morning huddle. It's a quick 10-minute meeting where Dan reads off numbers and tells us what we're doing wrong. He always throws in a joke or two to make himself feel like he's leading some motivational TED talk. None of it matters. We all just nod until he shuts up. That day, he was going on about our documentation backlog. Said there were still errors from last week that were making us look bad to the higher-ups. I knew exactly what he was talking about. And I also knew I had already fixed it. I'd caught the error, updated the system, and flagged it in my notes. I said, calm and respectful, actually, I fixed that Monday. It's already been updated in the system. He turned to me, smirking, and said loud enough for everyone in that room to hear, maybe if she smiled more and complained less, she'd actually be good at her job. The room went silent. Then a few people laughed. Not because it was funny, because they were scared not to. I saw it in their faces. I felt my stomach drop. Not because I was embarrassed, but because it confirmed everything I'd suspected for months, no one was going to back me up. Not one person looked at me. Everyone just stared at the floor or their notes, pretending not to hear it. I walked back to my desk in a fog. The rest of the day, I barely spoke. But inside, something flipped. I was tired of biting my tongue. I was tired of watching this guy get away with everything just because he was loud and wore button-downs that looked expensive. That night, I decided I was going to do something. I stayed up until almost 3 a.m. I pulled up every note I had. Every log, every version of the process documentation I had fixed, every test I had done. I screenshotted internal metrics. I made charts. I wrote out side-by-side comparisons of before and after workflows. I asked ChatGPT to help me with grammar. Yeah, I used it once, sue me. I even included feedback from coworkers who had tested the changes I made, with direct quotes. By the end of the night, I had a 30-page report. Real, solid work. I didn't insult Dan in it, didn't complain about him once. I focused on facts. Time saved. Money saved. Fewer errors. Better morale. Then I went digging through the employee handbook. I found the contact info for Anita. Someone in corporate's process improvement department. She was listed as a resource for employee-submitted proposals. She wasn't part of our region, and she wasn't connected to Dan. I wrote a short email. Hi Anita, I've been working on some internal process improvements over the last several months. Attached is a report with my findings, metrics, and tested solutions. I hope it's helpful. Thank you for your time. I attached the report. Didn't CC anyone. Didn't say a word to anyone. Hit send at 1:37 a.m. At 9:12 a.m. that same morning, I got a reply. Hi, this is incredibly impressive. Can we set up a call later this week to go over your findings? I stared at the screen for a long time. I felt shaky. Like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally let it out. We scheduled a Zoom call for Friday afternoon. When the day came, I took the call from my car during lunch break. It was Anita, and she wasn't alone. There were two others from corporate with her. One from strategy, one from compliance. They had all read my report. They had questions. They asked for clarification on a few items. They said my ideas were very forward-thinking, well-documented, and clear, actionable, and cost-effective. They said the whole report was better than most of what they get from management. At the end, Anita said something that stuck with me. This is the kind of work we want to see more of. You're exactly the kind of employee we want building the future of this company. She asked me to keep the conversation between us for now. I agreed. I logged off. Drove back to work. Said nothing to anyone. Over the next week and a half, I noticed Dan getting weird. He stopped leading huddles like he used to. No jokes. No shouting about KPIs. He was quiet. He looked tired. One day, I saw him sitting alone in the break room staring at his phone with this hollow look on his face. Then, one Wednesday morning, he didn't show up. 10 minutes later, HR walked into the huddle instead. She looked nervous. Said, "We're going through some restructuring. Effective today, the supervisor position has been eliminated." That was it. No more Dan. No replacement. No explanation. Just, gone. I thought I'd feel satisfied. I thought seeing him gone would feel like revenge. But it didn't. Because now that I know how much power we give to people like Dan, how many of us just stay quiet, how many get passed over or stepped on, I know this wasn't just about him. I'm not done. I thought after Dan was gone, things would get better. That people would finally look me in the eye again. That maybe I'd be treated like more than just background noise in this place. But that's not what happened. At first, there was this weird quiet. No one really said anything about Dan being gone. Not even off the record. It was like he never existed. Just wiped off the face of the company. People looked confused, nervous. Some avoided talking to me altogether, like they knew something had happened but didn't want to get caught up in it. Then I started noticing a shift. Small things, at first. My badge access to certain folders was suddenly restricted. Tools I had used for years were now locked behind requests I had to send to IT. 2 project requests I submitted were marked as pending indefinitely, even though they were previously approved. Then one of my coworkers, Troy, stopped sitting near me during breaks. This was the same guy who used to ask for help on every shipment tracker issue. now, he wouldn't even say good morning. I caught him whispering with Trina near the copier one day, and when I walked by, they both went silent. Something was off. I asked myself, was this retaliation? Then, a week after Dan's position was eliminated, I was called into HR. It was the new HR manager, Kelly. I'd only met her twice before. She had a smooth voice and fake smile. Told me to sit down, offered me a bottle of water. Then she said, "We've had some concerns raised about your interactions with other staff." I just stared at her. What kind of concerns? There have been reports that you've been withholding information, making others uncomfortable, and creating an atmosphere that's difficult to work in. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. I kept my voice calm. I haven't done anything different. I come in, I do my job, same as always. She gave this rehearsed nod like she'd already decided what to say next. We're just here to support a healthy environment. Consider this an informal discussion. No action at this time. She smiled again. Like I was a child she had to discipline gently. I left that room shaking. Not because I was scared, but because it was clear. Someone was trying to turn this on me. And I had a pretty damn good guess who. It didn't take long to figure out the game. Dan may have been let go, but he wasn't going quietly. Word around the office was he'd blamed me for everything in his exit interview. Said I went behind his back, made him look incompetent, and sabotaged team morale. And now? His old buddies, the people who used to laugh at his awful jokes, were circling up like I was the enemy. But here's the thing. I had documentation. Emails. Metrics. Proof. I hadn't broken any rules. In fact, I had followed the handbook to the letter. My report was well within company policy. I never even named Dan in it. So I started taking notes. Every odd interaction. Every weird email. Every time someone left me out of a loop on purpose. And then I heard something that made my blood boil. Trina, who used to come to me for help all the time, got pulled into a temporary lead role to help stabilize the team after Dan's departure. Trina. The same person who never once stood up for me during those huddles. Who laughed when Dan humiliated me. I realized something, someone up the ladder was trying to protect the old system. Dan was just the face of it. There were others behind him, trying to make sure the quiet people stayed quiet. They thought I'd stop at one report. They were wrong. I didn't say a word. Not to HR. Not to Trina. Not to anyone. But every night, I worked. This time, I wasn't just tracking process improvements. I was documenting toxic behavior. Biased promotions. Patterns of retaliation. I filed it all: emails, access logs, inconsistencies between policy and practice. Everything. And then I reached out to Anita again. I asked for a follow-up conversation regarding my report. She agreed. And this time, I came prepared with more than metrics. They tried to paint me as the problem. They thought getting rid of Dan would be enough to shut me up. But now, I see the real issue runs deeper, and I've got names, dates, and data to back it all up. Next time, I'm not just sending a report. I'm burning the whole rotten ladder they're climbing on. The meeting with Anita was different this time. Last time, she was warm, supportive, curious. This time, she was all business. She greeted me politely but had a sharper tone. Thanks for reaching out. I understand there have been developments? I told her everything. I kept my voice calm. I didn't cry, didn't rant. I laid it all out: the retaliation, the HR meeting, the sudden restriction on my tools, the shift in how people acted toward me. I even told her how Trina got placed in a temporary leadership role even though she had zero experience handling process documentation. Anita listened without interrupting. She took notes. Then she said something that made my stomach twist. I'm going to be honest with you. There are a few people in your region who weren't thrilled with how your report reached us. They felt bypassed. I blinked. I followed the handbook. You were listed as the internal liaison for employee process proposals. You did. I'm not saying you were wrong. I'm just telling you what's being said. That's when I realized something. It wasn't just Dan. There were others, mid-level managers, probably from his old network, who were trying to protect each other. Dan was disposable, but the system he thrived in wasn't. And I had accidentally put a spotlight on all of it. My report didn't just expose Dan's failures, it revealed gaps that should have been caught by every manager above him. They were scared. Not because I was dangerous, but because I was right. 2 weeks later, without warning, an internal audit began in our office. That's what they called it anyway. Some guy named Marcus from Regional showed up. He said he was just doing a routine quality review of workflows and communications. But everyone knew it was because of me. He interviewed employees one by one. Took notes. Asked about team culture, leadership transitions, workflow clarity. Some people came out looking relieved. Others looked pale and shaken. I knew the higher-ups were looking for one of two things, a reason to shut me down, or a way to bury what I exposed. But I wasn't the only one who had something to say. Troy, the same guy who'd been avoiding me, stopped me near the vending machine one afternoon. He looked around to make sure no one was nearby. I told them the truth, he said. I told them you were the only one who ever gave us straight answers. That you kept the system from falling apart half the time. Then he walked away like nothing happened. A few others started doing the same. Quiet nods. Small messages on Teams. It wasn't public support, but it was something. They were waking up. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Anita called me again. This time she sounded nervous. I need to tell you something, she said. Off the record. She paused. Your report's been flagged, not for its content, but because a senior manager claims parts of it were their work. I felt my throat close. What? Someone from your region, a manager, says they've been developing similar ideas for months and that your report may have included confidential strategic initiatives they were working on. I could barely get words out. That's not true. Every word, every test, every result, I did all of it. Alone. I believe you, Anita said. But they're trying to turn this into an IP dispute. They want to take it to legal. That was the moment it all clicked. They didn't want to fire me. They wanted to discredit me. Erase my work. Make it look like I stole something, so they could bury it, take it back, repackage it with someone else's name. Someone safe. Someone in the system. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I sent Anita another document, but this time, it wasn't about process improvements. It was about theft. I included timestamped drafts of my reports. Screenshots showing save dates. Email logs showing when I'd tested each update. Even old Slack messages with coworkers where I'd explained ideas months ago. But I also included something else, a screen recording. 2 months earlier, while testing one of the workflow changes with Trina and Troy, I had used a screen recorder to capture the system glitch. During that recording, I'd accidentally left my Notes tab open. My full outline was clearly visible in the corner of the video, with the same titles, bullet points, and file names I later used in the official report. It had metadata embedded with the date and time. It was unshakable proof that the work was mine. I sent it all to Anita and said, if they want to take this to legal, I'm ready. They tried to erase me. They tried to rewrite history. But what they don't understand is, I kept the receipts. I'm not just defending myself anymore. Now I'm going on offense. It took less than a week after I sent that screen recording for everything to blow up. I got an email from Anita. Simple, direct. Thank you for the evidence. I've escalated this to corporate legal and executive operations. Please don't share anything further with your local leadership until they reach out. That same day, I stopped getting assignments. I wasn't suspended, no official notice, no HR meeting, just frozen out. No one from management talked to me. Trina avoided me like I was radioactive. A few of the people who had quietly supported me stopped replying to my messages. It was like I was already gone. I kept my head down. I showed up on time, did the work I still had access to, and waited. 12 days later, I came into work to find our office half empty. Boxes stacked near the manager's hallway. Closed-door meetings. Whispering. Then at 10:07 a.m., an email hit all our inboxes, effective immediately. Several changes have been made in our regional leadership structure to ensure alignment with company values and policy standards. 3 names were listed. One of them was Trina. Another was the regional director, the one who'd tried to claim credit for my report. And the third? A surprise. The head of HR. The same Kelly who gave me that fake smile lecture and told me no action would be taken. Gone. Just like that. Not reassigned. Not retired. Terminated. We all knew what that meant. People in the office were buzzing, but no one said anything to me directly. Not yet. Then, later that afternoon, Anita scheduled a Zoom call. This time, she wasn't alone. 2 people from corporate joined, one from legal, one from something called strategic talent engagement. They didn't waste time. We owe you an apology, one of them said. Not just for what happened, but for how long it was allowed to happen. They told me everything. Dan had been under review even before I submitted my report. Mine just added fuel to a fire that was already burning. But what they didn't expect, what shocked them, was how much of my work had been deliberately stalled or hidden by mid-level management. The regional director, who claimed my ideas as theirs, had tried to resubmit part of my report to a separate corporate team under their own name. The IT team caught the mismatch in metadata. The legal department confirmed what I already knew: it was theft. Kelly, the HR manager, had known. She'd seen the emails. She sat on them. Protected her bosses. Tried to scare me into silence. All 3 were gone now. But that wasn't the end. Anita leaned forward on the video call and said, "We want to offer you a new role." I didn't say anything. It would be fully remote. Cross-regional. You'd report directly to the National Process Strategy Team. Title: Senior Process Consultant. I blinked. I thought I wasn't a cultural fit. She smiled for real this time. Turns out you were the only one who was. She sent over the offer after the call. Double my current salary. A company laptop. Full autonomy. No middle management interference. I didn't answer right away. Before I signed anything, I sent one last message, not to Anita, not to corporate, but to my current team. No drama. No gloating. Just facts. I explained what happened. I attached a redacted version of my original report, and the full list of improvements that would have helped all of us. I told them the truth: I never wanted credit. I just wanted better systems, better tools, and basic respect. Then I hit send. A few minutes later, Troy replied. Just 3 words: "You earned this." I smiled for the first time in a while. It's been 6 months since I left that office. Now I work from home. I don't answer to insecure men in too tight suits or women who smile while stabbing you in the back. I help offices all over the country fix their broken systems. I get real emails from people thanking me for helping them breathe again. Every now and then, I think about Dan. I heard he tried to get a job at another logistics firm, but corporate flagged him in the background check, not because of me, but because of what he put in writing trying to smear me. He lied. He got caught. And now he's unhireable in this industry. As for Trina? She posted some vague thing on LinkedIn about being between opportunities and looking for her next leadership adventure. Good luck with that. I still don't smile unless I feel like it. And I still don't complain, I just finished the job. This time, the right people listened. And the wrong ones? They finally paid the price.